something. She can tell God thank you. After going through the storm, right there in the midst of everything, told you to tell God thank you. I just want to echo that. I know you might not have everything you want, and it might not be the way you want it to be, but tell God thank you. Tell him thank you because you're still alive. Tell him thank you because he's still making a way. Tell God thank you. He's moving because every time she said it, she kept getting stronger to me. Tell God thank you. Because she knew it was just the hand of God that has been good to us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Somebody say thank you for all that you've done, all that you continue to do. Thank you. I don't even have other requests right now. I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. If I had 10,000 tongues, I still couldn't say thank you enough. Just want to take a few moments, act like Mother Tucker, and just say, I thank you, 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 I thank you for all you've done. Bless us now, God, as we go into this word, that your people might move to another level. Open up your word in such a clear way that we can receive it, apply it, and watch it bring forth manifestation in their lives. Give us proper context to put it in the right perspective for application purposes. That our lives will never be the same. And will be better because we've had an encounter on tonight. In Jesus' name. Go ahead and give God one great big praise. Give me some in the presence of the Lord. Amen. We had a marvelous, awesome high time on Sunday, y'all. I'm still riding the wave. Amen. God is up to so many major things in this ministry, and we're just excited about what he's doing to the body of Christ here in this local facility. And we're excited about those who watch us online who cannot be here. We pray that the same presence of God that we feel in this atmosphere will reach you right where you are and cause you to thrive in this life that we live, that you continue to function in victory. Amen? Those that have your Bibles, we're going to again read our foundational scripture that we've been reading all of February and might not be able to get out of it to the end of March. We'll just see what the Lord say. Amen. As we receive our marching orders. Amen. 1 Peter chapter number 2, verse 9. And again it says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And I'm looking now as we move through this particular verse, where it says that ye should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into this marvelous, into his marvelous light. And really looking at this thing as it deals with show forth the praises of him. I think it is important that we who know God, love God, and have been called by God, learn how to live a life that continually rebounds in praise. And I say that not just praise is going to be expressed in the most traditional fashion, but I believe that if we live like God wants us to live, everything we do is a form of praise. You know what I mean? Everything. How you say hello, how you do your job, how you live your ordinary life should show or praises unto God. So everything we should be doing should rebound in praise to him. Amen? Go with me back now to Daniel chapter number 1. We're going to read verse 18 through 20. And tonight I want to use as a subtopic and lesson, it pays to stay the course. Okay. It pays to stay the Stay in the course. Yes, stay in the course. We talk about that because we've been in the mindset of consecration, living a consecrated life. We know we did our consecration the second month of this year, but I don't want you to think just because we're out of February that you no longer need to remain consecrated. Right. But if we understand the benefit that comes from being consecrated, then you'll catch this and say, I'm going to stay the course, because there should be some thought that after looking back at how your February went with a month of consecration where you were praying and reading the word, it should have been better. You should feel different. Your spirit should feel better, because you can't spiritually exercise and stay the same. Now, it's like a diet. If you've been cheating on it, then you ain't gonna see no effects of it. But if you took it seriously and really took time to pray and read your word and really use it as a time to get close to God, you shouldn't want to revert back to where there's distance between you and God. Amen? We're in Daniel again, where we're dealing with 3 Hebrew boys in Daniel. And again, we've been teaching on them as it relates to their intake and how they ate, and how that their discipline changed how they were received, in the sense that the man who was over them, the eunuch prince, looked at them and said, man, you guys are doing better than the other ones. And yet, even though they were doing better, it was kind of awkward, because you would think that because you do better, everybody would automatically want to shift and to change. But that's not always so. You know what I mean? You can be around folks and you can be living in victory, and folks will see your victory and still not try to get victory. Amen. You got family members like that. Yes, they watch you make a turn. They're like, you doing good. And you said, why don't you try it? I'm going to do this just a little bit longer. You know what I mean? So it's a good text, because we begin to see how their lifestyle really gave them a different edge or a different advantage. So we're going to jump in here at verse number 18 through 20, and we're going to talk about staying the course. In verse number 18 in chapter 1 of Daniel, it says, now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in. We're talking about Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. 3 Hebrew boys in Daniel. Now, the days were 3 years. You remember it's in verse number 5, that when they brought these 4 in, he said, I'm going to nourish them for 3 years. Y'all see that in verse number 5? It's going to be 3 years. And then at the end of 3 years, after they done ate the king's meat and all that, y'all can bring them back to me. What the king doesn't know is that for these last 3 years, they haven't been eating his stuff. Right. And the only one that know it is them and the eunuch prince who is over them. Now after 3 years, now it's time. It's time. It says, bring them in, and the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, and Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, verse number 20, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding. And the king inquired of them, and he found them, catch this, 10 times magicians and the astrologers that were in all his realm. Look at your neighbor and say, stay the course. Now we've got to look at this. Three years they were in this holding place to be presented for promotion. For 3 years they were in a holding place to be presented before the king. And for sake of conversation, that's a long time. Okay. That was intentional because kingdom required training. Real kingdom principles require training. 3 years is long enough to argue against any time period of keeping old habits. It is studied that many believe that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. 21 days. But it takes longer than 21 days to break that habit. Some say 30 days, 60 days, all the way to 90 days. But anybody would feel that within 3 years, you should have broken any habit. Here you have these 3 Hebrew boys and Daniel, and they haven't changed their course. You have to really believe in what you believe in to keep doing it, even when it looks like it's not making a difference. That's good. Yeah. That's real maturity. That's really what we call about being steadfast, being anchored, being sold out. It's not what you do for a week. Not even what you do for a month. Not what you do for a season. But it's what you can do year in and year out that shows me what you are committed to. They were committed to this kind of lifestyle to the point that they allowed folks to take stuff from them and they didn't chase after it. Remember, the eunuch quit giving them what came from the king's bread, from the king's table, and they didn't chase after it. Because when you're committed to the right thing, you're not distracted by the wrong thing. Because I'm learning that the wrong distractions can lead you into becoming delusional. Oh, yeah. And a lot of times the enemy loves to bring the right distraction in order to change your perspective and your thought. But you've got to remain committed, especially when you know the course that you're on is the course of what it takes to be called. It's the course of what is required for the chosen. So here you are, and it's verse number 18 again. Now at the end of the days, at the end. See, when commitment is part of your life, you remain committed to the end. Commitment cannot really be measured until it is placed in the pressure of inconvenience and conflict. You can't weigh commitment without challenge. You can't. You committed. How you know you committed? Because I am. Have you been through anything? But I'm committed. But until you've been through some type of challenge that lasts, you know what I'm saying? That lasts, that is really a test. Then you can't say, man, I'm committed. Because commitment is not just what we speak out of conversation. Commitment is proven by your action. Okay. So it's not until the days are completed, now at the end of the days, that the king has said that he should bring them in. So this is heavy because now they're getting an appearance in front of the king, because for the last 3 years they've been committed and they haven't even been noticed by the king. See, that's heavy because you got two levels. You got a level of those who are noticing you, but they can't make a difference for you. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because sometimes you feel like you haven't been noticed because those who noticed you can't make a difference for you. You know what I mean? And sometimes that can be frustrating. Because you're like, can't you see I'm doing better? You're like, yeah. Even though you're doing better, I can't do nothing about it. Because you got to understand, the unit, like, man, y'all are doing this, y'all looking good, but guess what? I can't do anything about it. So that means your commitment cannot just be rooted in the acceptance of others. You know what I mean? Even when folks accept, oh, you're doing a good thing and pat you on your back and keep it up, you do it. But even when there's no change and you know it's the right thing, you got to remain committed to the right thing. I say that because so often when folks start changing and start committing themselves to Christ, you'll get some that say that's a good thing, and then you'll see some folks that'll walk right by you like you ain't done nothing. And then there's sometimes you can make the turn and start doing what God called you to do, and folks still nasty to you at the job. Like, I thought once I got saved, everybody was going to start treating me better, and sometimes they will not. At all. You still old Hebrew, you still the same. But their commitment was not based upon the approval, I hear what I'm saying, of others. It was because that was their committed lifestyle. When you grow to this level, then the enemy has a hard time distracting you, because if he can let the out thing have influence on your intake, then you're going to be under the influence of what they say versus staying under the influence of a committed life to Christ. Is that making sense? I'm going someplace here. So what happens? The king calls for them, and now the unit prince is to bring them in before Nebuchadnezzar. In this text, and I understand in historical points, everything is not always written, so you don't elude from it, but it looks as if they're called to the king. They don't have a conversation about when they're going to be called. They don't know when it's going to be. They just know it's going to be 3 years, and they don't know how it's going to be. And the calling didn't even come to them. It came to them, somebody who's over them that's not even like them. Not like them. Calls them to present them. In here, there's no briefing. No briefing. Y'all get ready to go before the king. I don't know if they changed garments or whatever the case was, because they've been in holding for 3 years, and now they're presented in front of the king. I don't know if there was a cleansing time or where you got to shave up, go to the barbershop so you look the best before you know. Because if I'm coming before someone of that authority, there should be a change. But maybe the truth is the change was so significant that we didn't need to do any more altering, because your lifestyle was your altering. Okay, let me stay here for a few moments. Because sometimes folks will change because of what they're being called to. But then there are some folks who are already changed. That's why they're being called. Did y'all catch that? a change committed life, Sister Terry, I don't need the car to come to make me change. It's going to call me because I've already been living like this all the time, Katera. I'm not changing because of the car. They're calling me because I'm... That's good. Too often, we got folks that you got to do call ahead on. We're going to need you to be used this week. Oh, Lord, be able to tell me on Monday so I can get myself together. Be ye us. Come on, be ye. You don't know when God. You cannot live like that. When you know something is coming, you got to make preparation. Right. Don't believe me? Ask Brother Jordan. He couldn't wait till his wife was going to have a baby to start making the bag. He had already had that prepared because he knew the baby. Oh, y'all hear what I'm saying? So often we hear this, and I'm looking like, they didn't like warn them, like, next week, it's the countdown. But if you've been living a committed life, you're saying whenever he calls, my life keeps me, my life keeps me ready. Okay, so there's no conversation. And that's why he said, y'all come on, y'all going before the king. And we don't see them saying, we got to get, no. I've been living for this. Yeah. So what happens, they go before the king. And when they go before the king is communing with them. That means he's hanging out with them. He's in conversation with them. So that meant there must have been something about them that made the king comfortable. Now catch this. They were brought in on a lower level to be subservient, to be in bondage. To even hear that a king is communing, that's y'all. What is it about your life that got some level of folks hanging out with you that really shouldn't be hanging out with you if we go by the title that other folks have put on you? You're supposed to be less than. You're supposed to be a lower grade because we brought you in bondage. And here the king is hanging. Do y'all care? You hanging out with the CEO. How are you hanging out and you only working here temporarily? You part-time help. You ain't got no seniority. And you are hanging out with the top. This doesn't even make sense. Because they were just supposed to walk in. We didn't know they were going to hang out. Yeah. This was supposed to be a quick visit. How did this turn into elevating times when it was just supposed to be a quick experience? Don't you say nothing. Just walk in. Don't be seen. Don't be heard. You just do it. But when you have lived a consecrated life, come here, it creates openings. It creates communes with things and opportunities you haven't even fathomed. Catch this. He's communing with them, and he's like, I ain't found nobody like y'all. And that's heavy because it's insulting in the same token. You got folks that that have been handpicked and they come from the right pedigree. You understand what I mean? I'm saying, kingdom, you have folks that have been raised up in certain positions, certain avenues of authority. And they've been trained. That's all they've been doing. They've learned that since they was a baby. Come on. So they've been trained. A trained mindset sometimes is not, it can become different than to a real committed mindset. There are certain things you can be trained on and know how to do it by the book because you've been trained. But then there are certain folks that have not been trained it's just their calling and ability. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people who could do hair for real. I'm talking about, I know my hair mess up. I'm talking about like people who did hair for real. And know what was sad? They didn't do it in the shop. Right. They did it in mama's little kitchen. Yo. They didn't have training. You hear what I'm saying? You go to somebody who knows how to do it by the book, and you walk out the shop like, I can't believe I paid $65. I could have just went to Tweet, and I know I didn't like doing it. And you know what I'm saying? Some of y'all right now, if you want to get your hair braided for real, you call Tweet, give us $75. You're going to have to watch the little kids. They're going to run around, but those braids are going to last you 6 months. But you go over here to JCPenney's and let them put braids in, and by the time you get to the car, they fall out. They've been trained. Okay, look me up. You know what I'm saying? You looking at like you got a Tweet ain't even been to school. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not the train, it's the natural knack of knowing how to do something. And I'd rather take somebody that has the natural knack that's been called to do something than somebody I gotta say, do this, do that. Like mama them cooking. How much you put in there? A pinch? What's it? You don't know. Because they didn't go by training. You just look at it and you can tell when it's bubbling what to do. I don't. Is that 10 minutes? And no, you have to look at it because it's not training. Right? You understand what I'm saying? So you got folks that have been trained up and stuff, and they're saying, you're putting this training to shame because your committed life has opened up another level. And he's communing with them. And he says, listen, I ain't found none like y'all there. And they stood before the king. They stand up before the king. They stood up while they were standing out. There are folks that are standing up, but they're not standing.
That's good. That's good, sir.
The heavy part is that if you read that, if you don't know customs, you think that's something to admire. And they stood before the king. But can I be honest with you? Everybody was standing. Because nobody sat down in the king's presence. So when you say, and they stood before the king, everybody was standing. They really said, they stood out. No, come here. Because in front of the king, everybody stands up and he sits. But now because y'all are royalty, you sit and we. It's mindset, okay. So here they stand up. They're standing up for the king. And he goes into a whole declaration of thought. He says, in all manner of wisdom, understanding, the king inquired of them. That means he's testing them. He said, they ain't just one time better. They're not 2 times better. They're how many times better? Okay. Now, I'm going to jump you off. I'm going to preach you. I would jump you over to when they were thrown into the fiery furnace. Right. No. How many times? No. 7 times. They should have known it wasn't going to work. You can't put 7 times against something that's 10. Come here. You get that ain't no work. I'm 10 times better. But your stuff can only go 7 times greater. So there's nothing you got that can only, I wish I could preach you right. There's nothing that they can do against you that can stop you. They turned up the furnace 7 times hotter. same. I wish somebody understand. The enemy's best shot is not great enough to overtake you. Oh! Somebody can use that as preach. Y'all listen to me. We're going to look at it 7 times you turn it something because God's perfect knowledge. And that's why you look at the text and talks about it in there. There was one who looked like the Son of God, which that's a whole nother. Y'all find it? You can look at it. You can cross-reference it. 7 times hotter. But they were 10 times greater. So you can't put me in something 7 times and I'm 10. And really you can't measure my greatness because you're limited by your understanding. And my understanding ain't the same as your understanding because my understanding came from the one who's over you. So even your best analysis or total of what you think of me is still less than what I am because I am in the mind of God and his ways. Come on, around. Are y'all with me here? Okay. So this is where we are. He said they're 10 times better than all the magicians, all the astrologers that were in all his realm. So their committed lifestyle has them in a whole different realm. Look at your neighbor and say, stay the course. Because every time you go around, you keep going higher. That's why certain things can't connect with you. You're in a different realm. You'll never be invited to certain things because you are in a different realm. Even if you want to go and you go, you're not going to have the fun like you thought because you are in another realm. Even if you go back to doing what you used to do, everybody else be talking about, we having fun. And you're like, I can't wait to go home. Because I realize now, I'm in another realm. Yo, we used to do this all the time. This used to be fun. You're like, that was then. And this is now. Because I'm a different realm. Yo. And if you're not careful, it'll frustrate you to where you're trying to force yourself back down. That used to be fun. You're trying to, I don't know why I need fun no more. Because you are in a different realm. Okay, when you stay the course, it pays. Because it's going to open you up to a new level of release. Go with me to 1 Kings chapter number 10. Hallelujah. 1 Kings chapter number 10. Y'all good? 15 minutes, get you out of here. 1 Kings chapter number 10. This is dealing with Queen of Sheba. We deal with the study of the Queen of Sheba. Really, this is the first time she appears in the Bible, and the last time she appears in biblical history. So because of that, you have all kind of dialogue about where area of authority or realm of control she was over. They argue whether it's from Africa or Arabia. The orthodoxy of Ethiopia claims her, so we believe it is from Ethiopia, but then they argue and all of that. With all that being said, we're dealing with a wealthy woman, very wealthy, who is now coming to test a man by the name of Solomon. Solomon, who had lived in the sense of time, a committed mindset of wisdom. His prayer was not for stuff, but for wisdom. See, if you get the right knowledge, you should make better decisions. And if God can trust you to make the right decisions, then he doesn't have a problem releasing stuff into your hand. Okay? All right. Verse number 1, and I'll read down to verse number 10. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. Now again, when I dealt with 1 Peter chapter 2, we dealt with the extrapolation of what I wanted to deal with, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Again, I said our lives should be lived in a way that it always rebound in praise to God. Amen? Here we have Solomon, who is living in a way that folks now want to see who you're serving.
Okay.
See, if you stay the course long enough, you'll get the right folks' attention. But you might have to go through a time where you're not getting the right folks' attention. You might go through a time where you get folks' attention that can't make a difference, and it almost feels like getting folks' attention doesn't make the difference. But as long as you stay the course that God requires, you're going to always come out ahead. So what happens now, who he is echoing throughout not just his region, but it's bleeding out. Verse number 2, and she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels and bear spices and very much gold. That's a whole lot of gold, very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she what? Here we go with that old commune. Didn't the king just commune? All right. With him of all that was in her heart. So she's questioning him. She's like, this is what I'm concerned about. I'm hearing all of this. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king which he told her not. So that means he had that all knowledge because of that consecrated mindset that he had dealing with wisdom. So when you remain consecrated and eat the right things, it changes your life. Okay? Verse number 4, and when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built, here we go with eating again, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his asset by which he went up unto the house of the Lord. There was no more spirit in her. She passed out. That's crazy because of where he's living, his consecrated mindset, wisdom, being connected to the will and the ways of God, living in a way that what he's doing is causing other folks to say, how are you doing that? And God continues to reveal and use him. So much that this queen who has a lot, used to a lot, says, I'm used to a lot, but I can't handle all. Because when she speaks to him, she says, I see all the wisdom. Again, I dealt with all. Y'all missed it. You got to go back and watch it last week. Sometimes you can get all because other folks ain't trying to get some. So you get the whole pie. You getting all of it. Look, you never say, I still want all of it. I want all of it. So there was no spirit like that. Verse number 6. And she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in my own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom, because it had been tested. He's been tested. Because of your wisdom, howbeit, I believe not the words until I came and my eyes had seen it. And behold, the half of it, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which that'll make me shout right there. If you remain consecrated to the will and the way of God and walk in wisdom, folks won't even be able to talk about you in totality. You can't talk about all that God's done for me. No. I told you. That's why even when he said, you're 10 times better, I'm greater than 10 times. That's all you can see. That's all you understand. She said that haven't even been told. And with not even half of it been told, it's already trickling out of where he's at into other regions. And you haven't even hit half of it. Let me stay there a moment. You haven't even told half of it, and half of it is already going around the country. Do you understand what I mean? God wants to bless you with so much that if folks just hear a little bit about what God did, they'll think they heard all about it. But God has done so much for you that if they just tell 2 things that he done, it'll go across. Do y'all hear what I'm saying here? Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Here we go. Rebounding and blessing. Blessed be the Lord thy God. See? That rebounding in praise. Got her blessing, your God, which delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loveth Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king to do judgment and justice. Now catch this. This is heavy. This is heavy. This is heavy right here. And I'm going to help y'all, because you're going to have the poor with you always, and we should help the poor. We should help those who are benevolent and need. But I came to tell you, when you start walking in the way and the wisdom of God, look for an overflow. Oh, look at your neighbor and say, look for an overflow. If you stay the course, look for the overflow. Look at somebody and say, look for the overflow. And you don't have to feel bad about it, but when you stay the course, you're going to get an overflow. Catch here. Now, he already has everything. He already has everything. He already has everything. He already has everything. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need anything. He's not wanting for anything. He's not asking for anything. He didn't even have an asking list together. You know why? He didn't even invite Queen Sheba. She just showed up. So he didn't have time to say, I'm so glad you're here because I need this, that, and that. He wasn't looking for anything. Because when you remain committed in the ways and the will of God, you don't even have to ask for stuff. Stuff will start coming and knocking at your door. Who am I talking to? I came to tell you, it will happen so fast. Some of you are trying to chase it. But if you would do what God said and told you to do, it will start chasing you. Oh, God. All right. I'm getting excited. All right. Verse 10. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold. This is what's crazy. He didn't need anything. But it pays, y'all better catch me here, to stay the course. When you stay the course, you'll never have a need. Right. And God will keep blessing you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This might be heavy. And this ain't teaching prosperity without balance. God will bless you just because blessing you gives him more praise. You find something that makes God happy of the spices very great store and precious stone, there came no more such abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. She gave him so much spices. It was crazy. No, but he didn't need anything but the level of his wisdom that had been tested because of his commitment. You really got to appreciate when he got into his position, he didn't pray for his enemies' head. He didn't pray for any of those things. He prayed for the wisdom of God. He wanted a continual connection that God would influence his life in making decisions. Oh my God. Because of that, from that point forward, he never had to want anything. He was full of wisdom, but he was one of the richest. Are y'all with me here? She blessed him because she recognized that committed life that reared in wisdom. That his committed life, he was reared in a committed life that released a level of wisdom that she said, I've got to sow into this. I've got to give into this. Because I ain't never seen nothing like this in all my life. And because I ain't seen nothing like this in all my life, I want to sow into that. God. If you remain committed to God, stuff will just be given. I'm so serious.
That's good.
To you. This ain't a hype you. This is a truth that has been moved over and over again and again, proven. It pays to stay the course. It pays. Oh my goodness. It pays to stay the course. What happens? If you read on, Daniel gets elevated. 3 Hebrew boys. They start moving up in rank. And folks get mad. Like, what are they? It pays. It pays to stay the course. Some folks will fall off. Well, I done been consecrated for this month. I'm just going to enjoy it. Okay. I'm going to stay consecrated. Because it pays. It pays. Just, oh my God. It pays to stay the course. How did you get that? I just stayed the course. How did that happen for you? I just stayed the course. I didn't look to the left. I didn't look to the right. Because too often we don't stay the course. And right when it's getting ready to get good, we back up and hit reverse and go down another street. Just stay the course. I want to tell you a story about a man named Jay. One day, when the days had come to an end. Now, come on. He was just shooting at some food. And up from the what? From a bubbling up your oil, that is. First thing you know, old Jets, King folks said, I'm making a joke, but if you just stay the course, he wasn't looking for that. He was just doing what he always did. Y'all missed it. There are some things you're going to come to and like, how did you get this? And you're going to be like, was going to serve him till I died. And he said, I wish I had 3 people that would be honest and say, how there's going to be a story about being consistent. That's what happened. And for those of you watching me, that is the song off the Beverly Hillbillies. I did not make that up. Let me get in there right, so I want to convenient me. You hear what I'm saying? But he just what? Stayed? Can preach on that. Because he moved. He did. He moved. To Beverly Hills. Yeah. But a whole different lifestyle. But the funny part about that show was when you watched him in the new house. He's still. They were like, you need to do something. I'm like, no. I'm just going, see, I got some stage. I wish I had 3 people. Really, that's a something we can shout on that. He stayed the same. Granny stayed in the kitchen, and it was the same. And folks were like, do you know where you are? Like, this is what we've been doing. 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 I remember kids watching it, laughing, because they didn't understand what a doorbell was. See, when you stay the course, stuff like that, you get it, but that ain't what your attention is on. It was still on the simple things. I'm still just trying to please God. Yeah, God is, but I'm just trying to please God. I'm just trying to please God. I'm just trying to please God. Do you know I'm just trying to please God? Because none of that is my attention going to be poured to. Because my appetite is that he feed me till I want no more. Come on and give God praise. I'm done. Stay the course. It pays. It pays. It's just stay the course. How did they get all of that? It just stay the course. The longer you remain committed, the more being committed to God becomes who you are. You know what I mean? The more you do certain things, the more it becomes second nature. There's adjustments that will happen. Because anytime you stay the course, you're going in a direction that some of us got to break old habits. You do. And I wish it was automatic. Truth releases you, but truth still requires the transaction of your behavior. It's a funny thing that says, say you've been driving to work the same way for 20 years, and you found a shortcut that instead of taking you an hour to go to work, you can get there in 30 minutes. If you found that shortcut, how long would it take you to start using it? If you found a way that could save you 30 minutes, how many would use it immediately? You would. Why? Because you have the knowledge. Why is it when God shows you stuff that can change your forever? You would use a shortcut immediately. But when God said stop doing that, but if I can find a way that can save me, you know, that's so crazy. So it shows you sometimes information is not enough. It takes behavior and participation. Oh, I'm done. complaining doesn't change it. Praise does. But how many of them are like, you never forget what happened to me? Like, we just learned that complaining doesn't change it. Praise does. We still, am I right? We know that. Worshiping changed the atmosphere. When we get mad and ready to go off, like, nah, I don't feel like worshiping. I want to tell them how I feel. I just told you worshiping didn't change it. I don't want worship right now. I want to. Amen. You can sow your way out of it. You hear me? If you give to God, He'll open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing. We know that. But when money get funny, times get tight, I'm going to hold on to this. But you just told me if I could show you a shortcut, Sister Renee, way. I said, how soon would you use it? Like, immediately. But when we talk about all those principles, Mother Water, I got to think about it. What's there to think about? Isn't it amazing? Look at your neighbor and say, stay the course. Trust God. It pays. Give God praise. Stand to your feet. I'm done. I am done today.